So now we're kind of having a picnic out here on the front lawn.
A picnic with no food or drinks.
Well, we do
Or
have dandelions.
all right, Ben, ready?
Would you like to eat a dandelion?
Try this again. Ready? One. That one's dirty. You have to get a different one.
Which one isn't dirty?
I don't know.
Oh, this one looks nice.
I don't know if you guys saw it last week, but we ate
dandelions.
So we're gonna do it again. Ready?
We ate dandelions.
1, 2, 3.
I don't want to eat it. It tasted nasty.
It was so gross. Ew.
She.
But that has nothing to do with what we were talking about.
Either way, we're talking about DECA Nationals, who recently went all the way to Orlando, Florida.
Oh, they have dandelions in Florida.
I bet they taste better because they're in Florida.
And I bet you they're not, like, chemically washed.
Yeah, we might die of pesticide poisoning.
Ben might die. It didn't go in my mouth.
A bug just flew in my nose.
Ben, I'm sorry.
Well, either way, while we are stuck here in the dandelion patch, why don't you go check out a little information about what DECA recently went to in Orlando, Florida.
Go check it out.
Hi everyone, I'm Ben Detweiler. I'm joined today with Andrew Baltris and Sterling Williams. There are two DECA competitors who recently made a trip to the Sunshine State in Orlando, Florida. So can you guys tell me how that trip went?
It was awesome. I loved it.
It was really, Sterling?
It was really sunny.
Was it sunny? Well, why were you in Florida?
I'll go into that. So we were in Florida for our national competition. It's something that comes around every year. If you remember, Drew and I did an interview similar to this one, recapping how states went, and we were talking about how we were going to qualify for nationals. What happened at nationals is where we're coming back from the results of qualifying in the top 3 for states.
Okay, so what is this competition like at nationals in Florida?
Okay, so my end is a little different from Drew's end. What I did was a written event. So what we did was we basically had to go to a manual registration. We registered our manual. We had to make sure that it was up to code in terms of what the DECA code wants. And then the day after, we did our presentation. And I know Drew can speak for himself because it's just completely different.
Yeah, so basically I was an individual event, so I had like a test and whatnot. So Saturday night was opening ceremonies. We went to that, traded pins, I did the whole shebang. Next day I had a test in the morning, so I went over to the convention center and I was in a test room for about 2 hours because we had to do like our information on how like the conduct works and everything, and then we did the test. And then the next day I had 2 role plays. They're both in the morning, role plays, business situations, fun. Just a fun time. But I think more about DECA Nationals is less about the competition and more about, getting to meet people, networking, all that stuff.
Right. When I think of states, I always think about how I did districts and states. I'm always thinking about, what did I compete in that year? What was the test like that year? What was the role play like that year? But for some odd reason, whenever I think of nationals, the last thing that comes to my mind is the competition aspect of it. I think more about riding around in Shaw's van, hanging out with everyone, and building those lasting relationships that I'm going to remember for years to come.
Okay, so can you tell me about the atmosphere that you experienced at the state competition and then at nationals and how they are different or similar?
It's completely different. Like nationals is way more grand, and that's obviously because there's way more people there. Like you get people from Spain. Spain was there this year. Guam, Puerto Rico, and Canada, obviously, which is a power chapter there. Mexico, so in mostly all the states in the United States. So you have all those people conglomerate to one spot. It turns into a way more grand spectacle because of the fact not only that it's nationals, but because you have way more people competing. Do you have anything you want to say on that?
Yeah, no, I always think that nationals is definitely, it's more competitive, but it's less competitive at the same time. So states, you see the same people every year. Districts see the same people every year. Nationals, completely different people, but it's like you can be sitting in the line getting in ready to go for your role play, and instead of like getting all tensed up and like, I'm so nervous, I'm going to beat you, it's like, hey, where are you from? Like you start talking with people, and you're all competing, and you all know that you're going to do well, and whether or not you make it to the finals or not doesn't really matter. You're there, and you kind of deserve to be there, and it's more about getting to meet people. So it's definitely a less competitive, more competitive atmosphere, if that makes sense in any way.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like it's way grander, but at the same time, it's an achievement within itself to make it that far. And I think that's how everyone takes it when they're there.
Okay.
So I think that's what he means by that.
How did you spend your free time when you weren't competing?
You want to get in? You want me to start off with that?
I got it. I'll get this one first. So, I think DECA, the free times part starts there the second we leave our parents. So we got dropped off at the airport fairly early. We were supposed to be there, was it 4:30?
Yeah.
I got there exactly at 4:30. I was pleased with that arrival. So we were there bright and early. Our plane took off in the morning, but the good part about that was that we got to Orlando nice and early, had the whole day. That day we went to Hollywood Studios, Disney's Hollywood Studios, which was really fun. Got to ride some rides, Star Wars ride, Rock and Roller Coaster, Tower of Terror. Then we went back to the hotel. There's a basketball court there. We played basketball one night. There's a volleyball court, golf, running track, pool, had everything. It was really nice. But I think, the free time you spend hanging out with each other, goofing off, riding the elevator, doing anything you can to just have fun because, you're there and you're there to study and stuff. So you work through the problems, you practice your thing. They're practicing their presentation. I'm doing practice tests, but then you're still in your free time, you want to be able to have fun and enjoy the experience because it is a once in a lifetime experience.
Right. Okay. And like you had said before that you ended up networking with people. Can you describe to me those relationships that you created?
Yeah, sure. I was meeting people from all over. Actually, it was funny. Drew and I were playing 2-on-2 with two guys from PA, actually. But it turned out we were playing with the state vice president of Pennsylvania DECA in the incoming next year. So I thought one of the cooler parts of doing that is, at states, he's all over the place, whether he's doing his campaign work, whether he's doing his PR work, because you're not going to see him while you're competing. So I thought it was cool to be able to stand around and talk with him and then talk with another kid from more upstate of Pennsylvania when we were playing basketball with them. But Drew, you may have something a little different than I do when it comes to that.
Yeah, so there was, I met some kids from all over. I think with an individual event, because I've done an individual and a written event at Nationals, an individual event, you interact with more people. I just think it's because, you're waiting in line for a role play and you're by yourself. You're not with your team, talking with your team, right before your presentation. You're kind of just why is this taking so long? Why is there a line? Why is there so many people? Does someone smell bad? And then you're sitting there thinking and talking, and then you end up interacting with people. I made some friends. I met a lot of kids, some kids from Washington. I met this really nice kid from Minnesota, and you meet these kids. I met this person from Texas, and I learned more about their DECA chapters because that's kind of a way to start talking, and then you learn more about them, where they're going to school next year, all that stuff, and I think that they're not lasting friendships, but they're conversations that are nice to have, and they're nice people to meet.
Okay. Throughout your conversations talking about DECA chapters, did you come up with any new ideas to benefit the Norristown chapter?
Well, I think one of the things that stuck out to me the most when it came to the chapters that I heard from whether it's another state or what have you, is the amount of time, the amount of effort, and also the amount of participation that they have when it comes to just the chapter in itself. So I think one of the things that I got the most out of hearing from other people and what other chapters do, it's just the amount of group work that goes into it. So I think if there was any type of new idea or a new concept, well, I can't anymore, I'm gone in a month. But if there's something that I'd like to see next year, it would be just the encouragement of just more group participation, because when the entire chapter comes together and is motivated on a single idea, it definitely becomes way much more grander, way quicker. And that's something I got out of that, just the large amount of people that come in and do it.
Mm-hmm. There's also an exhibitors hall, which has some really cool fundraiser things. And what I saw this year that I haven't seen in past years, I saw some really cool fundraisers that were a little bit different. There was a frozen yogurt fundraiser. There's different people coming to present that are attacking fundraising in a different way, creative way. And there was a custom sunglasses fundraising, some cool things that, I never had seen that before. So I think just, maybe I won't get to do that next year here, but knowing that those possibilities exist, I think there's some really cool fundraising opportunities that were presented at Nationals this year, and you learn that from talking to other people, but you also learn that from talking to exhibitors.
Okay, and do you think, why do you think that attending Nationals is such a great and important thing that all DECA members should strive to attend?
Independence, for sure. Because when you're at districts, it's just a one-day event. When you're at states, it is an overnight event, but it's way more restricted within the guidelines. At nationals, you have the opportunity to not only be able to do your competition side, but you also have the opportunity to basically do whatever you want within the span of window of time that you're given. I know there'd be some times where Shaw Herzog would be like, all right, meet up at 6:30, and then you'd have like 4 hours of free time to do whatever you want. I think that source of independence there, forcing yourself out of your comfort zone by having to walk around and talk to different people, doing new activities like going to that exhibitors hall or going out to play ball with people you've never met before and you probably won't again, but it's cool to make that relationship. I think just the source of independence definitely prepares you not only for college, because it's going to be just like that when you go to college, but for life as well. So that's one of my favorite parts of doing it when I did.
Disney World. I'm just kidding. I think that a really cool part about nationals, I've been to 3 of them, and the thing is, every time you go is you're in an atmosphere it's a hyper atmosphere of what a conference would be like when you're older. So you're a business professional. If you're interested in business at all or any field, they're going to have conferences like that. The Orlando Convention Center had a bunch of different conferences going on for a bunch of different things, and you get an idea of what like these type of things are like. You're independent, but you're surrounded by other people, and you're talking to other people, and then also just from the competition aspect, it's a lot more competitive. The questions are a lot harder. The tests a lot harder. People are, taking it very seriously as well as having fun. But as a DECA member, it's something important to do, and it's something important to see.
Okay. And what advice do you have to DECA members who are striving to attend nationals? What advice do you have to them in order so that they can get there?
Just work tirelessly hard. Like, I know for a fact when I did my written event, I put lots and lots of months into it, lots of weeks into it, lots of hours into it. So I think advice there would also be to talk to Mr. Shaw, because although he may act reluctant sometimes, if you really, really bug him hard enough, he has a lot of good advice for you to get you to the next level. So work hard and always contact your peers and your superiors, and you'll do great.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to admit you're wrong. Getting your test score back from districts, and let's say your freshman year you didn't do too well, look at it, learn from it. Just because you didn't do well your freshman year doesn't mean you aren't good at DECA. You can always improve, and there's always ways to improve. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to admit that you're wrong, maybe on something you said in a role play and you could have done something better.
Okay, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Just join DECA. It's a great club. I know I say it all the time, but it's really an awesome experience. I know you can attest to it, Drew can attest to it, and a lot of people can. It's a great thing to do.
Yeah, it's been one of my favorite things over the past 4 years is DECA. I've gotten to go some great places, but I've met some great people, and I think it's all about the great experiences I've had along the way.
All right, well, thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
I'm Ben Detweiler, and I just talked with Andrew Baltris and Sterling Williams about their recent trip to Orlando, Florida. Why don't you join DECA, and maybe you can attend a nationals conference as well.
Tennessee.
Now back to the Eagles Eye.